And we're live. And I'm too late hitting record because Fiona's just like dropping these little bombs. I'm like, wait, stop, stop, stop. I want to record. I want to record.
Oh,
I have Fiona Passantino on the line here, and she is actually driving. But we're going to talk anyway with her car connection and everything that has to go with it because we just need to talk about this stuff. Hi, Fiona. Thanks for being here.
hey, Bradley. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. And sorry about the audio.
No, no, it actually sounds better than it was. So maybe you're in a good place there.
I'm in a good zone. Thanks.
So I asked Fiona to have a chat about decision making because this is my sort of my big project for 2025. And I was telling her the other day about the whole my whole mind, heart, and gut talk that I gave in Dublin, Ireland at a writers conference. And for me, maybe this is decision making as well. For me, the projects I stick with are the ones that don't go away. Right. So that's probably a bit of a meta decision right there, right? Like, which projects do I work on? Well, I work on the ones that never leave me and they just keep bugging me until I do them. So that's where I am with mind, heart, gut. So I have not done the scientific research. I don't know about like the amygdala and the brain elements and the parts of the brain that do what. I just know like mind, heart, gut, and that's where I wanted to go. And as Fiona and I were talking this in the past few minutes, and I'm like, stop, because I want to hit record because you're saying some interesting stuff. So I will let Fiona introduce herself, but I really want to get her take on how AI makes decisions and then maybe how that might be able to help us humans make decisions. So hi, Fiona. You want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Thanks, Bradley. Yes. So my name is Fiona Passantino. I am a keynote speaker. I talk about AI. I train professionals and leaders how to use AI in their workplace context. And the goal is to make your working life more inspired, more pleasurable, more effective than the analog days. And what I love to do is start out by talking about how the human brain works and then compare that to the AI brain. Because non-surprisingly, we are designing our AI systems based on our own brain architecture. And a lot of the terms that AI programmers throw around is based on the context of the analog brain. Much like when you go to a desktop, you'll see things like in our physical analog world, like trash cans, and you'll see folders and you'll see filing cabinets. That's because we
Yeah.
need these tools so we can understand what this very abstract thing is that we're dealing with, because AI actually is just a series of zeros and ones that we can't possibly grasp. So if your question, Bradley, if I remember, it's how does an AI make decisions and how does a human make decisions? Is that a good place to start?
Sure. I mean, because you even told me this a few minutes ago and I didn't even know this. I'm just getting started on my research and I feel like I know nothing, which is kind of fun, really,
Yes.
because
Beautiful.
you said something like, well, the gut actually makes the decision and then it kind of shoots it up to the brain and says, sort of like, hey, so what do you think? Like, we're going to
Yes.
Italy. I hope you
This
like it. Maybe you can rationalize that decision now. Thanks.
100%. This is based on our history as hunter-gatherers. If we hear a rustle in the grass and we decide that logically there's no predator there and we shouldn't have to worry about things because it should be fine, 10% of the time there actually is a predator in the bushes. And if we don't run for it real quick, then we're going to get eaten. So our brain has evolved to make decisions lightning fast based on our emotion. And the fastest track from see something, make a response, like react to it, is not via our prefrontal cortex, which is our logical center, which is like, there is a rustle in the bushes. That could be one of five things. A bunny rabbit. B, a tiger. C, a sparrow. Like, we don't have time for that. It's like,
Right, right.
tiger, run, now. If you're like scared, fear, run. And that's what kept us alive, right? And so we
Right,
have kept
right.
this architecture. We've had this going on, for several million years. And it's only the last, let's say, 50 years that we've been sort of forced to use different parts of our brain to make decisions. We're telling ourselves that we, evolved mankind uses different parts of the brain that are much more logical and rational, but actually that's not true. We are still using our caveman hunter-gatherer architecture to make that decision, which is, emotion-based and based on our hearts, our guts. And then it passes through the frontal lobe to retroactively rationalize these very heart-made decisions. So in a business context, some CEO will get this, kind of icky feeling about a business venture he's about to undertake. And there's just something that doesn't pass this. You can't quite define it. You can't quantify it. There's something about this potential partner that doesn't pass the smell test. And he rejects the offer, even though on paper it looks great. Now, that's how most decisions are made. You make the decision with our emotions first. We have a gut feeling. That's like 90% of the stuff under the iceberg that we're exposed to. And then we see that tip, that 10%, which is the brain saying, well, the supplier didn't have, this accountability and this reporting was out of line. But in fact, it really didn't have to do with the numbers. You can always find numbers to back up whatever case you're trying to make. That CEO made that decision on gut. And that also goes for things like moving to Italy.
So, okay, this is really interesting. So, because as you say things, and this is sort of how I was going to say my brain, but maybe it's my 3 decision-making centers work anyway. But I tend to just do things, and then later I learn terminology and like, oh, there's a book about this, or oh, this is like a methodology. But I really like what you're saying, like, we're moving to Italy, and then and I like that you say it's first a gut or emotional, it's gut or heart, then, right? We're moving to Italy, yay! And then, because there's some saying something like, we can convince ourselves that we're right, or we can convince ourselves that we're wrong. It's just whatever we feel like, what we really want to
Yes,
convince ourselves of. I'm going to make
100%.
the move to Italy, sound logical and rational, and it's going to all make sense. But
100%.
but I've already, like, I really enjoy how you said, but the decision's already made. It's already done. We're going. Let's
Yeah,
see if we can back it up now with, like, the paperwork.
exactly. And maybe, Bradley, in your case, you're more honest than the rest of us. Like, you're more unvarnished, that you just let everybody in on your thought process, and you're just more honest with yourself and others that, hey, this is a gut decision, and I'm going to go back it up with rational logic. By the way, once the decision is made, it's not like it's in stone. Retroactively, the
Right.
same way
Okay.
that our frontal cortex, this is the second part, the same way that rationalizes our decision, it also can present the case against, and it can talk you down from whatever tree you're climbing
Okay.
up on. But that takes time, right? That's the second layer of the decision making. And then once you're kind of talked down, then that second decision comes in. So indecision comes when you have this non-compatibility with the heart stomach part. I'm going to lump heart and stomach together, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And prefrontal brain logical centers is, by the way, all brain, I think, as far as I know.
Right.
And the indecision part is lack of coherence between the stomach part, heart, stomach, and brain part. And that's when you're going back and forth. Your logical, rational brain says this, but your heart stomach combo is coming back with that. And that's where we get locked into this kind of spiral of indecision.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I don't know if I know you draw and you're a designer and comics and illustrations. I mention this because I'm a very visual person. So when you're talking, it's like I'm seeing the movie of what you're saying often. Like, I
Nice.
know you're saying words. We're not even on video because you're driving in a car, but we're just on audio. So I sort of make this video. And so when you're saying this, I'm sort of seeing like the Justice Department, the logo
Yeah.
is often like the
The
woman
scales.
holding the scales. And so like on
Yes.
one side is sort of, gut, stomach, and the other side is, mind. And
Yes.
I see the mind has, no, but Italy, we've got to get the visa. And oh, so that goes, that loses a little bit on the decision there. So the scale goes up on that side. And then the gut says, yeah, 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 but Saskia is going to be really happy if we move there. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. That's really cool. I could just see this battle of, I mean, it's almost like spouses or siblings,
Well,
bickering
actually,
and
if you really
agreeing
want a
and
visual,
yeah.
the actual process is more like a loop. So it's like a feedback loop where
Okay.
it's like a spiraling loop where brain will give input to stomach, stomach will then react. So it kind of like pushes in this flywheel. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it takes time for the one to respond to the other, and that is kind of like our world today makes indecision more prevalent because we're forced to have be evidence backed for absolutely everything we do. We're not in the mysticism, mysticism and um, but non logical reasoning is not really prized the way it used to be. Back in
Yeah.
the day, you'd go if you had a question, you had to make a decision. You'd go to the Oracle of Delphi. You'd go pack a llama or a donkey, and you'd travel 4 days into the mountains, and you'd see this wise old man or woman get high on some crazy, psilocybin mushroom, and then have a trance, get into a trance, and have a conversation with the gods. And that's how. Oh, and you need to do this, 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 and that, and not marry that person. Well, okay, and that was totally fine. That's not how we are. That's not really well liked as a decision making process today anymore. So, so we're forced to, even though that is actually how we download information,
Yeah.
but we just have to explain it in rational ways. Otherwise, people are going to not take us seriously.
See, I think this is fascinating that you brought this up. Now, Fiona, I know you and I know each other pretty well, but I don't know if you quite know how sort of spiritual I have become in the last 9 years since my father passed away. But
I'm with you.
like,
I'm with you.
okay,
I am
so
too. Me too.
all
My
right,
father passed
so
away, and it opened the can of worms.
yes, yeah, and it's a gloriously beautiful, psychedelic, colorful can of worms. But because I wouldn't have said something like this 9 years ago, but now, like, if I have to make a decision, I love your story about, going up to the monk and getting the decision after being on a donkey for 4 days, because that's kind of where I consider that I make my best decisions are usually in the dark of the early morning with my headset on and my eye mask on, and I'm deep in a meditation. And
Yep.
even in the guided meditation, I'm supposed to be doing, this breathing technique or whatever. But what I'm kind of really doing is going through decisions. And
Yep.
that's where, I mean, like this whole book project, this whole now what project, it doesn't leave me. In fact, it like doesn't leave me alone. It's like,
Nice.
when are you going to start doing the interviews? When are you going to start doing the research? Because we're not letting up. And I almost feel it's like my gut is saying, Bradley, hello, hello. We're not going
I
away on
think
this one.
it could be that your gut knows well that this is a key to your development, your own development, and helping
Yeah.
a lot of other people in the process.
Yeah. And this is so cool talking with you about this because this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted different perspectives, different experiences. You have your experience with AI and you know all this about like, see, because I come up with like mind, heart, gut, and then um, you come along with, amygdala and the gut makes a decision first. And then there's a feedback loop. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I'm already
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
I'm
I
doing
mean,
this.
that's why intuition is so undervalued and so underseen because it is usually correct, and
Yeah.
and
Wow.
everything that you're delving into spiritually will back up that higher, let's say, cauldron of information that you have access to, especially in a deep meditative state. That's when we're at most in touch with that stomach, heart, mind.
Yes, yes. It's like the mind is shut up or shut off.
Yes.
And I don't get all the ramblings and all the logic and rationale crapola. I get no, no, no. We're gonna do this thing. This is the best idea all year, and we're going for it. So the mind is going to be waking up in another hour here. So let's get going on let's go sign the contract to get this book started.
The mind is a really powerful tool as kind of like your, your lip service, like your communicator in chief, like you as your press secretary, right? So you make the decision, and then you put your press secretary on it and say, okay, make this rational my family, or make this idea sell to my board.
Yes,
yes. And then use that logical brain, like, well, the second quarter returns have shown that we need to invest in OCM delivery, and then you're like, and then you make that, but it's the gut, So, but what's really fun about AI is that the way it's a very mathematical precision algorithm, and what an algorithm is it's a program that says, take this enormous heap of data, trillions of bits of data, and data is just a collection of many, many, many little zeros and ones. So it's either on or off, it's black or white. And that is then encoded into, pounds and piles of actual data. And based on everything that you've seen in the past, like based on every book in the universe that has been written, read everything, and AI can actually do that. Compare everything you've seen and give me the most logical, most, let's say, probabilistic next word in this sentence based on mathematics. So the way that AI will look at a sentence, it will tokenize it. So it will divide up the sentence into its component parts, which is usually words or word parts, and put a value, a number, on a word or word combination. Like was and wasn't would be, like a token, even though it's a negative. So it would take a sentence, it would chop it up into tokens, it would pick out what is the most valuable information, like the sentence, let's go eat bagels this morning. What are the two most valuable words in that sentence? Bagels and morning, and let's maybe. And then they would put a number on those values. And then based on that, it would derive meaning based on a mathematical formula. And the same thing when it generates. It would generate based on mathematical probability. What next word has the highest likelihood of being correct? Now, that is quite different from the way we humans make decisions, right? So it will use a decision tree, and it will say it's either the next word in the sentence is either going to be bagel or muffin. And what is the highest likelihood of possibility of probability of success? Well, if there's a cream cheese in there, then the likelihood of bagel goes up. And if it's like jam, then the likelihood of muffin will go up. Let's just say, like, silly example. Whereas the human
it's a great example. It's a perfect example.
Ooh, yummy. I love bagels. I like bagels. My tummy tells me I have beautiful memories of hot bagels with my mommy when I was a child. That pushes my emotional centers up, so I choose bagel. That's different from the way an AI thinks. So if we can combine our way of thinking with an AI way of thinking, then we really will be empowered to make the best possible decision, because we don't think in terms of highest likelihood of based on every book that's ever written. We can only do it based on every memory we've made, right? And our memories are highly subjective, and we don't even remember all of them accurately.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of not remembering like things, I'm a beginner in AI. Well, probably not. I don't know. Maybe I'm intermediate.
I'd say you're pretty far along.
Okay, I'm pretty far along. All right, I'll admit it. So I have ChatGPT Pro, and the reason I wanted the Pro is because of what you just called memory. Maybe it's called something else in that world, but I have uploaded several of my books, like I've written a gazillion books, right? And I've uploaded several of them to ChatGPT, and then I get my sales page and all that. But then what I do is something like, hey, based on all the books that I've uploaded for you, here, I'll make up an example, but what if I were to write a book about bagels? Or should I write a book about bagels, or should I write a book about muffins, to continue with your analogy there? And so what I like is that I can't remember, well, speaking of bagels and muffins, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, right? But then what I love about ChatGPT is like, well, actually in your fourth book called Bagels or Die, you may have forgotten, Mr. Charbonneau, but you apparently love bagels.
Have you
And
trained your AI to call you Mr. Charbonneau? I've trained one of my AIs calls me my queen. That's Lucio, one of my anyway.
that's
That's
great.
great. That helps that stomach brain.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So what I like is that with the decision, I completely hear you, the gut thing and the bagels and my memory of bagels. And of course, the ChatGPT doesn't know my memory of bagels unless I've told it about my
Yep.
memory of bagels. But that's where like kind of flipping it over to a businessy topic in this is, and again, like me and my books, like, hey, ChatGPT, what book should I write next? Based on my 39 books I've published, what should I publish next? Right? Like, ooh, that'd be fun. In fact, that'd be kind of a fun one to do. So what I like about that is that should I move to Italy? And like, oh, I forgot. Whatever. I'm allergic to pasta, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
that
I
would suck.
forgot. Yeah, that would suck. But I would probably not forget that. And I love your idea of
Right.
combining, right? If we could use the powers of our intuition, which AI may or may not have or ever be able to have, and then the like expanded mind. And again, with my visualization, I see this like giganto brain as big as a planet because it
Yeah.
knows and remembers and reads everything. Then like, wow, what a powerful
Yes,
combination
with
that could
perfect
be.
clarity and precision. It's
Yeah.
scary.
And
Yeah.
energy and excitement and great. Let's go answer more questions.
You know, the question is interesting that you like potential question that you pose to the AI, which is what book should I write next? But
Yeah.
that is a difficult one for an AI to answer because there's so much emotion. You can't write or finish, let alone finish a book, unless you have passion and emotion behind it. But an AI can tell you things like, of all my books, which themes are the ones that sell best? Which are the ones that have the highest amount of engagement from my readers? Which topics, which questions are my readers sending the most? So based on, let's say, all readers' responses, what are the themes that are most interesting to them, and what types of books would sell the best in these markets? Because
Yeah.
then you take whatever output is coming at you, and then combine it with, well, what do I love? What do I, then you have yourself like your little ikigai diagram in your head of like, you combine all this kind of rational output from AI, which is what can I make money doing? What does the world need? With the internal compass of what do I feel passionate about? What do I love? And that little section in the middle where all four meet is the answer to your question, which is what book should I write?
Wow. Okay, because I'm not driving, I just typed it into ChatGPT and I said
Cool.
exactly that. What book should I write next? And of course, a great question. Based on your work
Yeah.
so far, here are some compelling directions for your next book. Number one, now what? Which is kind of cool because that's exactly what I'm working on.
Are you serious? Is that what they
Yeah.
literally said? Oh my
It says
God.
now what? And then it says expanded edition or follow up
Oh,
as
oh,
if
I see.
it's,
This is now what is already out there.
I guess ChatGPT thinks it's already out there, which it's not. But
But you gave it information. You gave it a title that said that.
I've been talking about now what with ChatGPT for months. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And then number two, give me five here. Number two, this is kind of fun. So you'll like this. It's very related. I have this sort of persona I call the Mathemagician, not mathematician, but Mathemagician.
Got it.
So it's mathematics and magic combined.
Cool.
And it's very much the same idea, very much mind and gut combined. And so here the book is The Mathemagician's Blueprint.
Cool.
Kind of fun. And number three is Weekend Writing Revolution. Kind of fun.
Nice.
And
Yeah,
number
it's pretty
four,
creative.
you'll like this one, Fiona. The Empty Nester's Guide to What's Next.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Fun.
nice.
And
Yeah.
number five, I don't totally get this one, but The Repossible Manifesto. Big
Cool.
picture philosophy behind all my work. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
But those
Okay.
may or may not line up with what you actually want to write about.
Yes.
The
Yes, with the
AI
exception of number one, because
uh-huh.
ChatGPT knows I want to do now what, and I'm doing it. And in fact, you and I are working on it right this very second. This is what we're doing.
Okay,
So this one is awesome. Okay. Hey, Fiona, I'm looking
cool.
at the time and you know what I want to do is that as you know, with this project, I'm just getting going, just starting to talk with people like with you. And in fact, you're the first person I'm officially talking with about this. So
Nice. Oh,
yeah,
I feel
super
honored.
exciting. And I feel like this is like such a kickoff. This is just, I am so excited about this. So here's what I would love to do. I'm going to go talk with, I don't know, 10 or 20 more people. I mean, my goal is like 52, just because I'm weird about like calendar numbers. And so I want to get a whole big group of people, but I would like to talk with you again, especially because we're kicking this thing off kind of here together. And after, I don't know, 10 or 15 people, and then revisit the discussion and kind of see what I've learned along the way. And also, I'm sure you will have thought about it more by then and just revisit because I think it's a passionate, exciting project for both of us. So I'd like to talk
Definitely.
about it with you again soon.
Yes, it's something that everybody struggles with, honestly. I mean, humans struggle with it because there's so many decisions that we have to make every single
Yeah,
day
yeah,
and that we never
yeah.
used to have to make when we were cavemen
Right.
running around. It's like eat for breakfast. It's whatever the heck you can find. If you
Yeah,
find berries, if you find a fox, if you find like whatever you find, that's breakfast, right? But
yeah,
we look in a store and we look at a supermarket like, oh my God, and that we have to do that 89 times a day. These kinds of decisions, it can drive you crazy. And so then we all just become overloaded and overwhelmed because making a
yeah,
decision is actually a very taxing part of our brain processes.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if we can combine our intuitive, and just leave all the decisions to AI that are very logical types of decisions, then we can
yeah.
free ourselves up for the more intuitive ones. I read an
Yes.
article. I'll pass this one on to you when I think of it, Bradley. There was an article recently of a woman as an experiment. I think it's a New York Times writer. She decided that for an entire month, she was going to let AI make all of her decisions for her,
Oh,
and like
wow.
what to eat for breakfast, what to cook for dinner, how to respond to this email. Do I cut my hair short, or what do I wear today? Every possible decision she outsourced to AI. And then she wrote an article about what she learned after a month of this. And what she learned is that AI made good decisions, uh, very much she made the most rational, likely decision that is like putting everything into a blended smoothie and outputting it as the best possible answer. And the decisions were good, but they lacked that surprise, whimsy, recklessness,
Interesting.
weirdness that we humans bring. So let the AI do the boring, bland, this is the highest likelihood, the highest probability of correctness based on facts and figures and based on data that it's exposed to, and then leave the surprise and the quirkiness and the weirdness and the dream I had when I was 5 stuff. And if you combine those two brains,
Yeah.
wow, then you've got something.
Then the mathematician in me wants to make weighted values. So,
Yes, beautiful said.
okay.
Yes,
So the mathematician, got the numbers. Okay. There's a 14 points for the logical answer to be XYZ.
yes,
But then you know what? Yeah, but there's 3 points by the gut that says like, if we don't move to Italy, you know, then ABC and ABC, the weight, the power of that emotional element is going to blow away all the rational stuff. So we're moving.
it's funny that you use the word weights because weights are the third element of the AI brain. So the weighted answer, a weight is a
Oh,
value 0 to 10,000 that is
yeah.
placed on a certain decision, like the guided decision making that is baked into the algorithm. So it's actually very much the way our own brain thinks.
Wow.
And with advanced reasoning, we have now in the architecture. That's why GPT. Which one was it? It was the 4 brain that was advanced reasoning, I believe, and that was such a huge step forward in AI architecture because it created this frontal lobe that would redirect incoming queries to a series of 8 narrow AIs that correspond with our own brain areas, like visual spatial, by translation of language, mathematical, programming, musical, visual, all this kind of stuff. So they did that for efficiency and speed, but we humans do that as part of our actual brain architecture. So that and then now we have advanced reasoning, which is the O1 model, and DeepSeek, of course. Advanced reasoning is when it loops back and thinks each decision maybe once or twice and asks itself questions and becomes its own critical thinker. So it's that little voice in our head, that there's that little voice in our head. It's actually building that little voice in its head for an AI, which means that as with each model rollout, it's actually becoming closer and closer to our own brain. So it's only a matter of time before that sentience is artificial consciousness it's definitely on its way.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. So enjoy your breakfast. Yeah. Everything is going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Hey, I have a tool question, and if you'd rather answer this in different time, that's fine, and I can just cut this out. But I have a question. So you and I had just done audio. We recorded audio. And do you have a tool or a favorite tool, or is there even something that could, I would like to make, because I put everything on YouTube, and so I often just put it on YouTube and there's just a static image. But is there a tool that could somehow animate our audio discussion in some sort of video? And I know it could just be pictures of mountains or whatever, but is there anything that like analyzes it and says, oh, it would make a little icon of a brain, or oh, it would make, we were talking about the scales of the justice, and it would show a scale. Any tool come to mind that does that, or?
Well, there are actually two really cool ways you could go forward with this. One would be to literally get like an AI generated transcript of our conversation and cut it up, ask it to cut it up into scenes and to visualize, like create 10 visualizations based on this conversation. And then they would come up with, make sure there are variations on each, and then feed that into like a Midjourney tool, an image generator tool, then take the best one of that and it's like a multiple step thing. The other funny thing, if we had a bit of foresight with this one, we could record our talking head podcast in a studio. And I think next time I will not be in a car, but in a studio. And then record our two talking heads, but then we could overlay it with our favorite, animated characters or manga figures, whatever we wanted to, like mushrooms with eyes, whatever we wanted to say, and make those talk for us, and then put in our own background scenery. That's a tool I think that's Runway is doing really well right now.
Okay.
And it used to be Synthesia, but Google this one for you. But there's a Chinese avatar making model where you could literally place yourself into a scene and then even replace yourself and your lip syncing with whatever illustration you want. Wow. It's crazy. Yeah, it's really crazy.
Wow.
It's like, yeah.
Okay, we'll do all that for next time. I might go with the static image this time, but I want to get it done. But
sure.
Okay. Oh my God, Fiona, this has been just beyond anything I expected. This has been amazing. And I can't wait to, and it really confirms, it's kind of like my mind saying, hey, I confirm this is going to be a great idea in a book and a project and these collection of interviews and chats and stuff. And so that's super cool and a fun kickoff for this whole project. So thank you,
Wonderful.
Fiona.
Oh, great. Well, I'm so happy. And really best of luck on your journey up the mountain with your donkey.
That sounds like my favorite part. Okay, Fiona, thanks so much. And we'll talk again super soon about this.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. It's been fun.
Bye.
Bye.